Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels have claimed a fourth attack within 72 hours on U.S. naval forces in the Red Sea as the U.S. intensifies its military operations against the group as well. The Houthis also fired a ballistic missile towards Israel. Our next story takes a closer look at what's happening during these intensifying battles.
In a surprising twist of escalation, the conflict in Ukraine now interlinks with unfolding tensions in the Red Sea, where the Yemen-based Houthi rebels have aggressively targeted U.S. naval assets, culminating in an unprecedented attack on an American aircraft carrier. This latest episode underscores a dramatic evolution in modern warfare, where precision strikes, drone swarms, and proxy confrontations span continents. On June 6th and 7th, Russia unleashed a massive bombardment upon Ukraine using more than 400 drones and missiles, targeting civilian infrastructure across Kyiv, Lviv, Kharkiv, Vinnytsia, and Ternopil. This marked a watershed moment, strategic air warfare eclipsing traditional ground combat. Among the weapons deployed were kamikaze Shahid-136 drones, long-range Kh-101 cruise missiles launched by Tu-95 MS bombers, and advanced ballistic systems, crippling energy grids and military depots, inflicting dozens of casualties, and revealing Ukrainian air defense vulnerabilities despite Western-supplied systems like S-300 and Buk. The assault obliterated lives, spelled operational breakdowns, and demonstrated the fragility of current air defense doctrine in the face of swarming, low-cost drones backed by cutting-edge precision missiles. Amid this backdrop of aerial brinkmanship, the Iran-aligned Houthi militia claimed to have struck at the U.S. Navy's flagship aircraft carrier, USS Harry S. Truman, operating in the Red Sea off Yemen. In what Yemen's Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Sari described as a retaliatory act against sustained UK airstrikes targeting their positions, and in solidarity with Hamas in Gaza, they launched cruise missiles and multiple armed drones at the Truman and nearby escort vessels. Various reports suggest 2 cruise missiles and 2 drones targeted the Truman, while another operation allegedly hit the USS Carl Vinson with 3 missiles and 4 drones. These claims follow a pattern. In late March, the US and UK executed Operation Rough Rider, deploying hundreds of strikes on Houthi infrastructure launch sites, radar systems, command hubs, while their air defenses shot down vast Houthi drone and missile salvos. The Truman reportedly conducted some 670 strikes, intercepting approximately 160 incoming threats over 5 months in the Red Sea, before departing around June 1st. But the conflict exacted a cost. High-tempo operations stretched the Navy's logistics and personnel. $1.5 billion in munitions were expended in just a few months, and the Truman lost at least 3 F/A-18 Super Hornets, 2 falling overboard due to evasive maneuvers against Houthi fire. U.S. Navy personnel likened the Red Sea engagements to a knife fight in a phone booth. Intense, chaotic, and exhausting. Despite the Truman's withdrawal, Houthi leadership issued a stark message. U.S. strikes won't deter them. The militants warned maritime actors that Red Sea shipping remains vulnerable, even as Israel conducted its first naval bombardment on Hodeidah port on June 10th, aiming to choke arms smuggling. The film of this naval standoff reveals a new chapter of proxy warfare. The Houthis, supplied with Iranian drones and ballistic missiles, have pierced U.S. naval defenses relying on Aegis, Tomahawks, and naval aviation. While Aegis destroyed scores of incoming threats, interceptors are costly, and stocks are strained. Commanders increasingly deploy cost-effective alternatives, such as $25,000 laser-guided rockets from F-15S and F-16S to counter drones. Supplementary tactics include using naval 5-inch guns, reloading at sea, and refining sensor protocols, all lessons drawn from nearly 2 years of maritime shadow wars. The strategic lessons are striking. Relatively low-cost Iranian-backed drones and missiles can force U.S. carriers to expend high-cost interceptors and risk fighter losses, while also draining crew morale and resources. The naval campaign, extensive yet incomplete, didn't eliminate Houthi capabilities, as militants swiftly adapt and continue attacks, particularly on Israeli vessels. Meanwhile, Russia's full-scale technological bombardment of Ukraine escalates the global theater. On June 6th to 7th, Russia unleashed waves of drones and missiles, including kamikaze drones and Kh-101S launched from 295MS bombers, range-making deep, devastating strikes across multiple urban centers. Despite Western-supplied S-300 and Buk systems, Ukraine's air defenses were overwhelmed. The sudden destruction of power infrastructures caused civilian chaos, crippled military logistics, and claimed lives. Observers noted that such modern air warfare, dominated by precision and drone swarms, challenges existing air defense frameworks. Amid this global turbulence, XU.S. President Donald Trump offered a contentious view, labeling Russia's massive strikes understandable responses to Ukraine's air-based bombing. He framed the conflict as a two-sided war, requiring restraint and minimal foreign intervention. Ukrainian President Zelensky quickly dismissed these remarks, reasserting Russia as the clear aggressor. The episode underscored how global politics, extremists, and national interests amplify conflicts beyond combat zones, unsettling the unity of NATO and its Western backing of Ukraine. These intertwined crises, from Russia's strategic air assault to Houthi naval attacks, illustrate how modern war transcends geography, blending state power, non-state actors, technological asymmetries, and global political posturing. Carriers in the Red Sea, bombers over Ukraine, missile swarms in the skies, they all share a thread: the battle for supremacy through drones, precision strikes, and asymmetric tactics. The tangled effect plays out in multiple theaters. In Ukraine, Russia's unprecedented June strikes weakened civilian lifelines and tested NATO's ability to support Ukrainian air defenses against mixed drone and missile waves. The failure of established systems prompted urgent calls for expanded supply of Western air defense systems and reevaluation of strategy in defending urban centers. In the Red Sea, U.S. and allied naval forces adjusted to an environment where missile-laden drones can appear in lethal numbers. The Navy is adapting tactics, deploying cost-efficient interceptors, expanding radar sensitivity, reinforcing at-sea rearming, and experimenting with long-range guns and microwaves. Still, carriers, once seen as invincible, find themselves in close quarters, forced to dodge missiles with evasive maneuvers that sometimes lose aircraft overboard. Politically, these incidents reveal widening fissures. Trump's comments on Ukraine and the U.S. Houthi ceasefire brokered on May 6, 2025, shaped by national calculations and Iran's influence, signal shifting priorities in American foreign policy. This ceasefire paused U.S. attacks on Houthi assets but allowed them to maintain pressure on Israel. Meanwhile, Israel used naval power to strike Yemeni ports, all part of a dangerous dance of tit-for-tat strikes across the region. For U.S. carriers, the game-changing lessons continue. A naval commander recently reflected that a future naval fight with China, boasting long-range missiles, drones, and space-based surveillance, could be exponentially more complex than the Red Sea skirmish. The Navy must confront the potential of high-intensity swarm attacks in confined waters near hostile shores. Ukraine's Saga 2 reveals vulnerabilities. Its air defense systems, overmatched by drone swarms and cruise missiles, have been forced to adapt or face failure. Western allies now grapple with how best to support Ukraine with layered defenses. Radar networks, missile batteries, and electronic warfare, lessons drawn from both Red Sea and Eastern Europe. For the Houthis, their maritime campaign has been brutally effective. They have targeted over 100 ships since late 2023, evaded full destruction by high-cost U.S. strikes, and leveraged global politics in a bid to expand their influence. Their ability to strike carriers is not guaranteed, but the threat they pose has forced the U.S. to rethink naval operations in critical maritime choke points. Looking ahead, these conflicts will converge in unpredictable ways. U.S. carriers must balance readiness across the Pacific, Red Sea, and Atlantic, while Ukraine and its allies seek to shore up air defenses before Russia's drone campaign intensifies. Political support for both theaters depends on public sentiment and shifting narratives, whether Russia's strike is understandable, or the Houthis fight for Palestine or against commerce. In response to evolving global threats, several trends are emerging. Western militaries are diversifying defense strategies by combining missiles, guns, rockets, and electronic systems to counter cheap drone warfare. Ukraine's resilience is tested as crews repair power grids and logistics hubs under fire, with Western allies rushing missile systems. The U.S. Navy is innovating with mid-ocean rearming and drone defenses. Geopolitical fragility grows as U.S. policy shifts ripple across alliances. Proxy conflicts escalate through drones, cyber attacks, and sanctions. Civilians are increasingly vulnerable, with strikes threatening vital infrastructure and challenging global norms on warfare and humanitarian protection. These multi-front wars reveal a new reality. True strategic dominance no longer comes simply from owning aircraft or tanks, but from mastering technology that exploits chaos, drones, missiles, sea lanes, and political narratives. The US, NATO, and Ukraine must absorb these lessons quickly. If in June 2025 the world sees Russia launching wave after wave of drone attacks and Iran-backed Houthis targeting carriers, it's clear modern war has entered a new phase, one where dispersed digital and proxy forces can outmaneuver traditional dominance. Ultimately, the outcome of this entangled conflict, Europe's fate, the safety of global shipping, Middle Eastern stability, will hinge not just on firepower, but on adaptability, alliance cohesion, and political judgment. The week of dueling airstrikes across Ukraine and the Red Sea may prove a turning point in how we understand the balance of power in the 21st century. So, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one.